Rare mic drop.
And I need you to apologize. You said, I'm from Africa. You are surprised that we from Africa worship a white man. Yes. And I said, you Muslims colonize many countries and you impose Islam and a god from Arabia on those countries that you went. Allah was not known in Africa. It was known only in Arabia because it's Arabic language, right? The Jews never mentioned Allah in all their books. So the name Allah is not known by any of the previous prophets. It's a new name, and according to the Torah, we don't need to follow a God that is not known by our forefathers. Now, for you to say we Africans worship a white man, it shows you are ignorant, respectfully. It's because Jesus is not from Europe, he's from Israel. They are not white people. And you don't impose that on me. You don't know me from anywhere, and you say I'm worshiping a white man. That's where I said I was offended.
Yes, the Ethiopian Bible is seen by many as the oldest and most complete, containing more books than Western versions. It includes texts like the Book of Enoch and features early Christian traditions, dating back to the 4th century when Christianity became the state religion.
Is Hebrew Afro-Asiatic?
Yes, Hebrew is an Afro-Asiatic language. It's part of the Semitic branch, which includes languages like Arabic and Amharic. Specifically, Hebrew is a Northwest Semitic and Canaanite language, and it's the only Canaanite language still spoken today.
So, if Hebrew is an Afro-Asiatic language, and the Bible is written, well, not the Bible, that's not a correct statement. Let's say many of the books that make up the Old Testament is Hebrew, right? Then wouldn't that mean that, how would you say this? Jesus, or I don't even like to talk about it because he's not even the God of the Old Testament. That's Greek and all that other stuff, but he would be Afro-Asiatic. Or he would be Afro. I mean, have to have an Afro. I mean, I say Afro-Asiatic because I understand what's going on. Like, you got to explain to me how the Chinese tried to prove that they originated in China separate from everyone else, and they couldn't even do it. Their DNA doesn't say that they originated in China, that they themselves go back to an African people. The oldest bones found in South Asia that can be identified to modern people today, and I'm not saying they're the oldest bones in Asia, I'm saying the ones that they've been able to identify that go back to a modern people today. They said that they described this person as being sub-Saharan African. So where's the history of sub-Saharan Africans being in South Asia, near Thailand and places like that? The stuff was erased. See, this is what I've always pointed out. There's a problem with the Bantu migration. They're the largest African group in Africa. But they start out there in West Africa, right? Below the Sahara, sub-Saharan, right? When they tell us life started over here, okay? How did these people pop up over here, start out and spread? See what I'm saying? There's a problem there, unless you know the history of people being removed from Asia, being removed from what we now call the land of Korea, all right, and other parts into China, and they were taken away and placed in Africa. All right, once you know that, then you'll understand when you read etymology that the first people that called themselves African were white people, because that's not the land of the so-called blacks. They were placed there, almost like marooning, you could say, okay? And that's what's going on. Hence, they are Afro-Asiatics. They're original. Once again, you want to make the argument? Go look at the oldest Go look at the oldest Kung temple in China, the Shaolin Temple. What's on the walls of the Shaolin Temple? A mixture of men that are painted red, brown, and yellow. But they won't tell you the history of these two other groups that were there. Why? It's almost as if those two other groups of people lost a war and were sent away. Those that survived. You gotta ask yourself, right? Look at the people that they call themselves the Jesuits, right? The army of Christ. The army of Jesus, right? When they finally got themselves in order, where did they go first to spread the good word of Jesus? And I say that facetiously because they didn't spread anything about Jesus. What they did was they went there in they went there as wolves in sheep's clothes, and they brought chaos and death. That's why the Chinese eventually kicked them out of Asia. But they went to Asia first. Afro-Asian, Hebrew is Afro-Asian. This is from Asia, not the Middle East. I know they can say the Middle East is Asia. I get that. It's the steppes of Asia, right? Not from Africa, not from that little place that they're calling Israel today, right? This stuff happened like I said, China, Korea. Look at the French. The French went to Thailand, came back with a map drawing Jerusalem. Why would they draw Jerusalem being in Thailand? The French. I didn't do this. The French army did this in their conquest. Okay? So the idea that they're worshiping a white man is it shows the level of what would you say? It shows the level of deceit that's been placed upon the world and the delusion that's been used to cover up what has happened.